Welcome to Growing Belleville Through Community Chats, a podcast presented by the Greater Belleville Chamber of Commerce to help highlight, promote, and enlighten people, businesses, and community events in the Greater Belleville area. Here are your hosts, Stephen Sedlak and Eric Huber.
All right, welcome back to another episode of Growing Belleville Through Community Chats presented by the Belleville Chamber of Commerce. I'm your host, Stephen Sedlak, along with Eric Huber. Good morning, Eric. How are you?
Morning. Doing well. How are you?
Good. Well, we got a good guest here today. They have a busy week down at the racetrack. We have Chris Blair from Worldwide Technology Raceway. Chris, how are you this morning?
Hey, we're doing great. It's race week, so we're all excited.
Amen to that. Well, Chris, if you don't mind, let's just jump into it, kind of give a little background about yourself and let people kind of know who you are.
Okay, well, I'm Chris Blair. I'm the Executive Vice President and General Manager here at Worldwide Technology Raceway, and I joined the team in the spring, or actually the winter of 2013. I'd met Curtis Francois a couple years earlier when he was actually trying to get the racetrack program off the ground. So we met at the time. I was working at Las Vegas Motor Speedway. I'd been there for about 11 years. And before that was with the National Hot Rod Association. Before that, I was in Chicago working with a company that's now Feld Entertainment, producing Supercross and monster truck shows and a variety of events. I kind of made a little bit of a world tour. But I met Curtis. I was really intrigued with what he was trying to do here with this venue and to rescue it after it had been closed. And we just hit it off, and the timing worked out well. My parents are from Kentucky. I grew up in Kentucky, so I wanted to get a little closer to home for them. And at the time, my ex-wife, she wanted to get closer to her family in northern Illinois. So it was just a natural fit to move here to this area. And we loved, I had a lot of friends that were here in the Metro East area. So it was just a natural move to come over here for a great opportunity. And it's been exciting to watch the growth and everything that we've done now for the last 8 years.
Well, I will say this. I was at the track when it first opened in 99. I was at all those races back in the day, and knowing what it was then and what it turned it into and now what you guys have done with it, I just got to give you guys kudos because I think you've done just an amazing job down there and made it a very good experience for not just even race fans, but for just anybody curious about racing in general.
Yeah, that was one of the things, the vision that Curtis had. I've had a lot of other people I've talked to in the past who've had visions of grandeur, and they never materialized. And I saw Curtis's plan, and then just started watching the process. And he's delivered on everything he said he was going to do with this development. Now we grew from a very small facility. I think we were around 130 acres when I first got here. We're now up to over 600 acres. One of the big problems when you first started coming here years ago was parking. Mm-hmm. That's been one of the main things that Curtis has tackled with over 200 acres of new parking that's been added. Then he also 2 years ago took over the Gateway National Golf Course, so it's part of our complex. So his goal and vision is to create the shining entertainment recreation destination here in the Metro East, and so far he's plugging away and doing everything right.
I think one thing that a lot of people might not know is that, or really fully understand, is that you have the big race this weekend, which is the crown jewel, I guess, if you will, what you got. But you also have the NHRA. But there's more things that you guys do year round. Especially this last year, you did the Christmas lights, which was a big success. And I'm assuming you guys are planning on doing that again this upcoming year.
Yeah, it's coming back. It's going to be even bigger. They're going to double the total number of lights that they had for the show this past year, and actually extending it so that as soon as people come in to get in line, they're going to be seeing shows before they even get the ticket gate. So that one was very successful for us, and it's going to continue.
But you're also doing other things. You got year-round stuff. You got the kartplex. You have, you're doing the drag racing stuff on a weekly basis, correct? I mean, it's just not just a one or two race type of thing. It's a year-round experience there.
Yeah, that's one of the things that we tried to accomplish. With me coming from Las Vegas, we were open pretty much year-round. The only time we would really shut down was in July and August because of the heat. But the rest of the time, we were wide open year-round. And that's one of the things that we looked at here is what can we do during the off-season. You only have a certain window of time that you can do the racing events. You have to work around the weather. So that was one of the strategies we came up with is what can we do not only to keep year-round activities going, so the Christmas lights fills a great part of that void, but also what we can do to open the venue to more people and different people who may never want to see a race. We still want to go to our racetrack. So the Christmas lights was a good opportunity to kind of get them in here. But we're working on some other events. Here in just a couple, Labor Day weekend, we have a balloon festival, hot air balloon festival that's going to be taking place. Um, Later on in October, we're having a fireworks competition where some of the top fireworks pyrotechnic teams in the nation are going to come here for a competition set to music. That's the first week of October. So those are some of the things that are kind of out of the norm. We've had 5K runs. We've done a lot of other color runs, bicycle races, lots of things like that we're trying to do. But then at the same time, we always try to keep 3 or 4 ring circus going every weekend. So like just a typical weekend, the drag strip will be in action. We'll have activity on either the oval or the road course, and the kartplex will be taking place. And there's been times where we've had other events on top of that, so that we've had as many as 4 events going at the same time. So our goal is to keep the facility busy as many days out of the week as we possibly can. It's like right now we have police department from the St. Louis Police Department are out here doing training on the property. So we try to use this thing as much as we can, and our goal is to be somewhere in the ballpark around 400 event days a year. And so far, we're doing pretty well with that.
Now, I kind of want to go back to you're talking about the firework competition you're having. Now, I didn't even know those things existed until maybe about a month ago or so, and I heard somebody talking about it on the radio. Is that going to be open to the public then? People can come and watch that?
Yes, it is.
I mean,
yes, it
that's
is.
crazy. Like I said, I've never even knew they'd have competitions for fireworks, but I guess competitions for everything these days.
Yeah, it's called the Fire and Fuel Festival, and it's it's an outside promotional group that we're working with. We work with a lot of people who bring the shows to us, and we just open up the doors and let them do what they do best. We just act as the landlord. But this is a group that we've worked with a lot in the past. They're heavy in the music and concert industry, so that's why they're going to have the bands playing and the fireworks going. So it's about a two to 2.5 hour fireworks show. So that's going to be one of those. It's going to be noisy. I think you're going to hear it for a long ways. Wonder what's going on. Yeah, this should be a good show.
Yeah, no, it sounds like it.
Chris, you said, I wanted to touch in on the Christmas lights. We went last year. It was amazing. Looking forward to it this year with our family. Is that something, obviously we haven't touched on it yet, but was that something that kind of brought up with you and your team, kind of with COVID happening? What else can we do? The limitations? I guess what other conversations have you guys had, or events that you guys have started to maybe look at a little bit more now with what's going on in the world right now?
Yeah, that was one of the things early on because we didn't know what was going to happen with COVID last year. So we registered. We went through all the process of getting registered as a drive-in theater. We were going to look at doing drive-in movies. We were talking to some screen companies. Fortunately for us, the opportunity opened back up for us to be able to have racing events. So that we backed off a little bit on that, but there was a big part of that was trying to do as many events as we could that could take the place of before we were down for COVID, and it would give families the opportunity to do some different things that would maintain the holiday spirit, but at the same time, get them out of the house, give them something they could do. So, but we'd been in the talks with that particular group for months leading up to that. So, it had been a well-planned program. We had Christmas lights here years before. It really wasn't what we had hoped for with the group that we were working with. When we saw this new group, I was blown away when I saw the show, just their demo video, and so we were very, very pleased. And that was one. It started out kind of slow because people didn't know exactly what it was going to be, and then as the word spread, it just kept growing and growing, and it was massive. This market, Metro East market, for them was their strongest show they had last year. They do several across the nation, and we were the shining star. So that's one of the reasons they're going to invest and do more again this year. The good thing about that, I know there's a lot of other established Christmas lights programs in the area. The way we look at it, we're kind of creating a destination for a lot of people who will come in from Springfield, Illinois, or even Springfield, Missouri. We've had them travel that far. They would come here for our show, and then while they were here, they would hit one or two of the other shows on the way, so they'd make a weekend out of it, or a night out of seeing a couple of shows. I think the others actually benefited from what we were doing as well. So, it's good just to kind of keep that activity going and keep things vibrant here in this area.
Yeah, I think the going back to last year and everything that happened down, it was such a weird time. Nobody knew what to expect or what to plan. I know like Bigfoot monster trucks, right? Out of Fenton, their whole is entertainment as well too, and they had to pivot and they were able to get into a show that was kind of a traveling car drive-through exhibit or whatever, and I just think the creativity that came out of that, one shining thing, I guess, is that creativity that people were thinking outside the box. And now these things are going to continue on as they go, not just a one and done type of thing.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's one of the things we're seeing even in the way we conduct races and some of the things that in the past, everybody had to do some things a certain way. There was not a lot of room for change. Everything that came through after the COVID uh, restrictions and shutdowns and changes that everybody had to do is now when people say the ones who used to have the excuses, well, we can't do something because that's the way it's always been done. The always been done was thrown out the window. So now there's the opportunities for us to go out and try some different things. People are more receptive to different things, and it's so far it's working out very well.
Yeah.
Awesome.
But yeah, and one thing too is we're looking at it like some of the things that we have coming up. We have the Hot Rod Power Tour coming in town next week. It's actually the Thursday after our IndyCar race, and that was an event that has been rescheduled 3 different times. So it was rescheduled twice last year and once earlier this year. So it ended up on this date, and the numbers just keep growing for the total number of participants. We were expecting somewhere in the ballpark of around 6,000 cars that would come rolling into the neighborhood next week, and now they're saying it could be as many as 10,000. So it's the world's largest rolling car show. And when it comes to town, it takes over everything. So I remember a few years back when we had it even at that 6,000 number, a lot of the restaurants in the areas here around the racetrack, they were running out of food because they had no idea what to expect. And I remember one restaurant, they said the only thing we have is chicken tenders because they were selling everything else they possibly could have. So we're trying to get the word out and let everybody know that they're coming to town, and it's going to be bigger and better this year. So that's going to be another fantastic show. That the people that were cooped up that year off, they really missed it. So everybody's coming, really excited about what's going on and getting back into their normal routine. And we're seeing that even with some of our local races and some of the other racetracks around here are seeing it too, that people want to get out and do things again.
Well, I think that's important, that people realize just the impact that you guys have on the surrounding communities, whether it be lodging or, entertainment otherwise or eating out, is that, especially after last year, especially restaurants with the hit that they took, that a weekend like this weekend coming up with all the fans coming in town, or like you said, next week with everything, just how much of an impact that can have on restaurants and whatnot. And it's community wide. It's not just, where you guys are at, but it's St. Louis as well. It's Belleville, it's Fairview, it's Edwardsville, kind of disperses. And that's an aspect that I think is very important. And I commend you guys for, what you do and how you guys get that impact on the community. So with that being said, let's kind of just shift, I guess, towards, again, the crown jewel that you guys have is this weekend with the truck race, and then also Saturday night with the IndyCar race. What are your guys' expectations for this weekend?
Well, we were taking a look at some of our advanced sale numbers, and things are looking very good. We're not comparing anything to 2020 because it was such a weird year. But based off of 2019, we're flat on ticket sales. So in which 2019 was a fantastic year for us. So we're seeing that that's where we're at going into this window of where we have to look at the weather forecast to see what we're going to have. That is going to be the deciding factor. Looks like we might get a little bit of a shower on Friday. It's a little bit overnight Friday night, but by Saturday it's going to look fantastic. And the temperatures you couldn't ask for. We've got Chamber of Commerce weather as far as on the temperatures. So a lot of people are looking at that, and they're excited about it. I think with everything that's going on with the racing, this is our first time to really pull off the show in this format where we have the NASCAR trucks on Friday and IndyCar on Saturday. So that's going to really it's taking what was 2 weekends and putting them together for just a fantastic show. And then we have all the support classes going as well. So Friday is it's going to be a really big event, nationally televised on Fox Sports 1. It's one of the top series with NASCAR. So we have and our show has always been fantastic. And if you take a look at the winners who come out of our truck race. They've all advanced into the NASCAR Cup Series. They're doing fantastic over there. So it's an opportunity to see those next stars in some of the best racing on the planet. And then over on the IndyCar side of things for Saturday, the quality of competition this year in IndyCar is incredible. They've numerous different winners. There's been like 8 different winners so far this season. All the racing, as far as on the oval tracks and things, have been fantastic. Lots of new names, lots of international superstars. We have some former F1 drivers that are here racing. So there's an international spotlight on what we're doing. And with this race, it's broadcast through NBC Sports Network. But when you take a look at the numbers that are viewing from Australia, Europe, the European countries, Japan, when Takuma Sato won a couple of years ago, I think it made over 500 million social media and media impressions when he won the race here. So we have such a worldwide audience that this is probably the biggest international event that you'll see in St. Louis as far as a global reach, because of so many different things and so many different drivers and the different areas that this race goes to. So it really puts a spotlight on this region. That's one of the reasons we try to encourage as many of our local people to support the race. It's about 60% out of towners now. But what we want to do is when people tune in and they see a race here at WWT Technology Raceway, and they see a packed grandstands, and they know where we are, to see the vibrancy of what we can deliver over here on this side of the river to a global audience, we all win. Because then if we're trying to recruit businesses to come to our area, we can use this as a perfect example that, we take a world stage a couple of times a year with the events that we do here at the racetrack.
Chris, you touched on it a little bit, but you have this big weekend for a lot of our local people who might not be into NASCAR and might not have that, racing background that they've enjoyed. What do you guys bring to the track? What do you guys have going on for those type of individuals? Or kind of what's the selling point of, hey, families, kids, bring them out. This is what we have. So, for those listeners who haven't experienced it, a little bit more in depth on, what you might have for the kids and families who haven't been to a racetrack yet.
Well, that was one of the things that we looked at in developing this event. Is we traveled to a lot of different areas and watched other shows. And the one that really stood out for me was the Long Beach Grand Prix, which is very well established. It's almost 50 years of racing through the streets of Long Beach. But the attitude and the approach they took is they created a festival. It's a festival that a race takes place. And they did that because they wanted the masses there to just be a part of the overall entertainment of what's taking place, with the race kind of serving background noise if for the people who weren't interested. But it's a good gathering spot. It's a good place to go and meet people. So what we put together, we took that same attitude here, and so we crammed our show full of activities on the racetrack with vintage Indy cars and 2 other support classes that are be racing with the IndyCar series. But in addition to that, we created a STEM lane for kids. We're working with WWT Technology and the Stewart Family Foundation, and created a STEM area so that a lot of different displays will be taking place, showing the kids different things they can do in science and technology. So that's area is going to be really nice this year. And then in addition to that, just on our midway, a lot of vendor displays. The U.S. Air Force is bringing in a hangar display that features a F-16, full-size F-16 that's going to be on the ground.
Awesome.
So it's
that's real cool.
Piece. Yeah, and then in addition to that, we have bands playing. We do a very good job on bringing in a lot of diverse foods. We have food trucks coming. So it kind of takes that whole street festival attitude. It's what So behind the main grandstand is our main street that we've decked out with a festival type approach. And then on the other side, when you go to the grandstands, you get to see some of the best racing in the world. And in addition, we're going to be having some post-race music. We also have a party in the infield for we kind of target towards the college kids that we call Rumble Before the Roar, where we have a DJ playing. And, in addition to that, fans can purchase a paddock pass upgrade where they can actually walk into the garage area and see the cars up close. So, even if you're not really a racing fan, but you like cool cars, it's a good opportunity to go see some of the cutting edge technology that IndyCar features. So we just try to put as many different things as we can in there. We can appeal to everyone, so that when you go out to the racetrack, I've been to some events where you'll go and basically scan your ticket, you walk by a concession stand, and then the only thing else to do is go to the grandstands. We wanted to have it where you would come here and make a day out of it and be entertained from the time you walk through the gate until the time you leave. And oh, by the way, see a good race in the process. So that's our goal here, is to entertain from start to finish.
Cool.
You know, I grew up, as a race fan. I grew up going to races all the time, and so I've always been intrigued with it. But not everybody has. Not a lot of my friends have as well too, growing up. And I don't say I've talked them into, but I've got them to come. I think it was 2018. We got a group and we went over to the race. And, everybody says, it's a completely different experience in person as opposed to watching on TV. A lot of them just seen on TV, never been to a race, and they are just blown away by everything. And they're really into it. Does that correlate them to being a fan on TV? Probably not all the time, but they're fans of the race in person. And we've even had a couple that, we've had conversation going on for the last, probably 3 months or so of trying to get a group again to go this weekend, of guys that wouldn't watch it normally. So I think if you get people there, again, with other aspects that make it a day out of it, and then they see the race for the first time, hear the sound of the cars, smell the tires on the track, it gets them to come back because they actually realize, hey, now it's more than just, everything else. It's also the race as well. And they like that. So have you guys seen a lot of, those kind of outcomes, I guess?
Yeah, we have. And that was one of the things we, in some of our early promotions, we were talking about come for the party, stay for the race. And then, one of the ideas, we were at the Phoenix Open a few years ago. And, I don't know if you're familiar with the Phoenix Open, but it's a big party.
Yes.
And, oh, by the way,
Yeah.
And that's when we started realizing it's like, it's not necessarily about the actual product in front of you that you're there watching the national TV audience. You don't really understand it until you're actually there in person. I saw it on TV and thought, I want to just check it out and see what that's all about. And then once I was there, I was blown away. We took that same approach here, and I've been trying to emphasize to a lot of people and in a lot of our promotions, say you can't get this from the couch. And that's one of the things that I've been trying to work with the sanctioning body and the broadcast partners on, is let's try to do more to show things from a fan in the grandstand's perspective. So we have flyovers, we have pyro, we do all of our pre-race activities. We do that stuff. That's a lot of times it takes place during a commercial break, and fans have no idea what's actually taking place during the event itself. So that's one of the things we're trying to push. That is, give us the opportunity to entertain you one time, and we think we'll win you back, and that's our goal. And we're very, very aggressive on our post-event surveys. We work with Maryville University Sports Marketing Department, and as soon as an event finishes, we send out emails to all of our ticket purchasers and ask them to give us a report card. And we've had some tremendous response. We've learned a lot from that, whether it's what kind of food people want or different kinds of entertainment pieces they'd like to see. And so we're always trying to use that to try to figure out exactly what the fans want, because I'm a 51-year-old racing fan. That's all I've ever loved. It's for me to try to sell it to someone who may be 25 years old, a young couple with a new kid. How do we entertain them? They're going to be a lot different. So what do they want to see? What do the older fans want to see? And try to figure out something where we can offer something for everyone. And that's one of the things that we do consistently, is always try to reinvent ourselves and never get stagnant. And so far it's working pretty well.
Now, I saw, I think it was on your Twitter, I guess, what is it? The drone on the dirt racetracks. Now, was that your son? Did I see that correctly?
Yeah, that's my son that does that. He does work for Fox and CBS, and then also Dirt Vision.
Dirt Vision, yes. Well, I will say that's kind of the outside the box that I think was awesome, and I commend him on that. I think he does a great job. Those videos were incredible.
Yeah, that's worked out really well. That started out, it was a hobby, and he started racing drones, and then there was an opportunity to do this. He hopped in, and it's just taken off for him. He's created a career out of it. And a lot of people like to comment about how great he is and, how smooth it looks. I said, well, you're not the one who had to pay for all the crash.
Yeah.
But it's worked out really well. And then having him on board, he helps out a lot here at the racetrack. So he actually takes off from that job to be here on race weekends. And we utilize the drones to help us in taking pictures of the parking lots and track. and all the different things that we have taking place here. And it really provides a good resource for us. And we're trying to encourage the broadcast partners with IndyCar to look more at that as well as options for coverage. But it adds a whole new perspective.
It does. It was a great video that I watched a couple of them. I was intrigued by them at that point, but that's the type of stuff, the outside the box stuff that is intriguing and really draws people in. So kudos to him as well as you guys on that.
I've always said that he was kind of my test pilot. The reason we even got into drift racing was years ago. He somehow became a drift fan. This is when he was little. I mean, he saw something on TV and he was telling me about it. So we went to a drift event, and I was like, okay, there's something here that we need to be looking into. So I started promoting drifting out west, and then when we came here, that one of our first objectives was to get Formula Drift. And, so now we have one of the top Formula Drift events in the nation or in the world that takes place here at this racetrack. And it's all because of the perspective of what a 6-year-old or 4-year-old kid was telling me at the time. And one of the greatest promoters ever, his name was Humpy Wheeler, said that every promoter should look through the eyes of a 12-year-old boy to figure out exactly how to entertain the crowd, because that's the age when the guy he's kind of past the toy cars and he's almost to the point where he's watching girls, and you got to figure out what they want to see, because then you can create some entertainment content that'll reach the masses. So we've always kind of used that. I was fortunate. I had a lot of feedback from my son. Curtis's son CJ is a car lover too. He follows a lot of different things, so we get a lot of feedback from him of what the younger crowd is looking for, and we try to deliver that product so that we can keep the next generation of race fan coming.
Now, real quick, finally, with it being on one weekend as opposed to two weekends, do you guys see that as a benefit, or what's your guys' take on it? I guess.
Well, one of the reasons we did it this year is it had to. It was working around some of the TV broadcast things that were going on, especially with the Olympics, where they blocked out a pretty big chunk. We're looking at some different options next year. I mean, I think this is going to be a very successful weekend. I think next year you'll probably see us go back to 2 separate weekends. And we're working on some different programming with some different groups that I think it will make both weekends very good and entertain to even a wider audience. We're again, you talk about thinking outside the box. We're looking at a whole lot of different things on what we can do to move away from it being just a race to being more of a festival or a happening. And that's our primary focus now, is how we can entertain more people and take that same concept to that level.
Do you guys see any new additional races being added in the future, or near future, I guess I should say?
We're working on things, and we're lobbying hard. Every day when I get up, that's the number one thing on my mind when I got to bed is, okay, what else can we bring here to the racetrack? What can we bring that's bigger and better? And Curtis shares that same vision, so we're always trying to let people know that we're out here. The results of when people see our grandstands full for an IndyCar race, or they see a really good crowd for a NASCAR truck race, that sends a message to everybody else that's out there that there's something happening here and that the fans will support it. It's kind of the whole if you build it, they will come mentality. Well, we build it, and our fans are supporting it. We just need to get more fans to buy into it, get vocal, and let's try to win one for the home team here. See what we come up with.
Well, Chris, like I said, we're getting up on 30 minutes here, and we want to be respectful of your time. We know you guys have quite a busy week this week, but we truly appreciate you coming on and all your insight, and wish you guys the best of luck, and hope it's a big success this weekend.
We hope so too. Yep. We hope everybody supports all the businesses over in Belleville and all the surrounding communities. That's what we're here for. We want to be a generator to help everybody win.
Well, again, thanks again. We appreciate it, and look forward to this weekend.
All right.
Thanks, Chris. Good luck.
Thanks.
Thanks for listening to another episode of the Growing Belleville Through Community Chats podcast. Please remember to follow and subscribe to this podcast and share with your friends and community leaders. For additional information from this podcast, please reach out to the Greater Belleville Chamber of Commerce. Thanks for listening to another episode of the Growing Belleville Through Community Chats podcast. Please remember to follow and subscribe to this podcast and share with your friends and community leaders. For additional information from this podcast, please reach out to the Greater Belleville Chamber of Commerce.